In China, freedom of speech is a privilege, not a right. Only members of the free speech elite can contribute their criticism, beliefs, and opinions. The ordinary citizens have no right to publicly announce their opinions. They can only express them privately. If they break this rule, they are persecuted for subversion. As of today, if an average person in China wants to publish their opinions to a broader audience other than themselves, the safest mechanism they can utilize is through internet bulletin board systems run by the government. They use this because Chinese law requires all electronic bulletin board systems to be licensed, all posts to be monitored, and any inappropriate posts to be taken down. The only people in China who can publish criticisms or opinions contrary to those of the Communist Party are senior members of the Communist parties themselves. One of the consequences of freedom of speech was a case when two men were jailed for publishing love poems. In January 2003, the website of the People's Daily, the official newspaper of China's Communist Party, reported that a court in Hefei, Anhui province, sentenced two men to prison for 7 to 9 years to unlawful operation of a business. In other words, their crime was publishing love poems without government authorization. This goes to show that in China, it is very limited to be able to voice out your opinions. Journalism. The practice of investigative journalism in China was a very risky job. It experienced a brief rise in the late 1900s and early 2000s when the media gave risky stories by reporters in order to gain a large audience. However, it died out and investigative journalism died ever since. Two key factors are causing the decline in journalism. One is the increasingly bleak financial situation facing newspapers as they struggle to adapt to the digital age. The second factor is the constraint being placed by the president. Many of China's young reporters give up on journalism, saying you cannot write what you want. This has caused a decline because it prevents many journalists to say what they want. They feel limited, which ultimately leads them into giving up. Just over 80% of the Chinese journalists surveyed for the PR Newswire study reported monthly incomes below $1,450.
Public relation agencies were introduced in China in the early 1980s and seen as a Western practice that had to be strictly regulated. PR firms must follow the Chinese Communist Party's interest. The top PR firms in China are the China International Public Relations Association, established in 1991 in Beijing, and Public Relations Society of China that was established in 2015. Public relations strategies in China are to market a product or promote corporate social responsibility, to inspire to buy or support a product or a service. Now there are a total of 15 international PR firms, including the top 10 which operate in China. Some outlets for PR is newspapers, so unlike in the West, print has not seen vast decline. There are over 1,900 newspapers operating in China. Along with newspapers, social media is used to reach the public. With 772 million users, China has the world's largest internet-using population. PR practitioners tend to reach audiences through the web. China has over 2,600 radio stations that are state-owned and 2,895 television stations. Propaganda is used as a tool of governance. The president of China implemented the Chinese Dream in his administration. The signature slogan, Chinese Dream, is a vaguely defined promise of prosperity and rejuvenation that ties China's quest to become a powerful force to the hopes and struggles of its people. Some common themes in Chinese propaganda are family, loyalty, a clean and true government, common traditional values, change, and new beginnings. Likewise, tourism propaganda is becoming increasingly important to China as both a source of revenue and a means to enhance its international image. China is currently the fourth most largest popular tourist destination behind France, the United States, and Spain. China was ranked second in the world for travel and tourism's contribution in 2017 and first in the world for travel and tourism's total employment contribution at 79.9 million jobs. The typical promotional videos incorporated Chinese culture and historical land structures, as well as their buildings.
There are various forms of advertising in China, but the one that is making a breakthrough throughout the whole country is advertising through mobile phones. China doesn't have the same social media or web browsers that the United States does. In fact, they have the American platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, Google, Gmail, Netflix, and many more, all banned throughout the country. Even though they have all these social media and web browsers banned, they came up with their own platforms and they have the control. One of these platforms is Weibo. It is pretty much the Chinese version of Twitter, where you register, and once you become a user, you can post statuses and pictures along with videos. Many companies use Weibo to promote products and make short videos to advertise their products and get their name out there. But Weibo isn't in its glory days anymore, and various other platforms have come out and taken the place of Weibo. As technology advances, so do the apps. The next app is called WeChat. It's essentially the same as Weibo, except it's an instant messenger app, and around 750 million users are active daily on WeChat. Advertisers use WeChat two different ways. They either use moment ads or sponsored ads. With moment ads, an agency's advertising shows up on a user's moments, or how we call it in the United States, the advertising shows up on the user's timeline, and they have the ability to click on the ad or not. With sponsored ad, agencies mainly use celebrities to sponsor their products by doing videos or pictures with the agency's products, and from there it shows up on the follower's timeline, getting publicity for the company in which they were sponsored by.
As far as pop culture and storytelling goes in China, films play a huge role within there. So, in approximately 1896 was when motion pictures made its first debut within China. But the first actual film came out in 1905. Later on, all throughout the 1920s, is when technicians from the US pretty much went over to China and were training these technicians, which is why you can see such a heavy influence of westernized culture within Chinese films. Pretty much throughout that time, the government was putting a hard emphasis on the film industry and TVs due to the fact that they thought it would be a great use for propaganda and for production art. Which brings me into TV shows. So pretty much what's popular as of summer 18 is Chinese dramas. So some popular shows do include On Fire, White Deer Plain, and Patriot. Moving along, China's music evolution plays such a huge role within the culture. Pretty much traditional music goes as far back as 8,000 years ago. So they use different types of everyday devices such as bells or chimes or even panpipes. There's many different types of opera, such as the Kun opera, Yu opera, and even Beijing opera. And the cool thing is that they're specific to different regions throughout China. But the best part is music festivals. So most of them do occur throughout the spring and summertime, and there's lots of different music festivals. So for people who like rock music, you have that. Or even if you do like that traditional like EDM music, they do have that as well, which is why music does play such a heavy influence within pop culture and storytelling.
China is an extremely diverse country. Its territory is just as large as the United States. It has 56 different ethnicities that are all officially recognized by the Chinese government, many of which have their own languages. China's physical geography ranges from deserts to rainforests and from plateaus to low plains. People living in these different sections often have various cultures. There is no official or dominant religion in China. While many Chinese citizens do not even practice any religion at all, others partake in Christianity, Buddhism, Taoism, Islam, and even Judaism. In the core of China, or China proper, the population is mostly comprised of the Han ethnicity. Just like the United States, China has stereotypes as well. People in different provinces in China have different stereotypes about each other. The people in Shandong are tall, the northeast is cold, Qinghai is inland and the poorer region, the coast is where the money is, Chongqing is where the beauties are, and Shanghai is very exclusive. This video will get more into detail about all of that.
I go to Hong Kong and you hear a lot of, they're called 公主病, which is like a princess syndrome that a lot of Hong Kong girls seem to have. And so they have these high expectations built off like they want money, they want bags, and they expect their men to kind of, you know, baby them and give them everything. But at the same time, these guys are like struggling to even, you know, take care of themselves. So it's like there's a mismatch there.
So is that stereotype actually true?
I think it is. Yeah? A lot of the time they're very whiny. They're very materialistic.
There are a wide variety of laws and internet regulations in China. Censorship, being an attempt at controlling what the people see and say online, has been around for over thousands of years in China. China's government has been controlling the media ever since its first emperor caused the burning of thousands of books and the live burial of scholars in China. While the Chinese constitution does allow its citizens freedom of speech and press, they are still able to arrest people by saying that they're exposing the state secrets and endangering the country. The Chinese do have their freedom of speech and press, but authorities have the freedom to deem anything harmful to any political or economic interest. This can be extremely harmful because without any set guidelines, journalists and other media professionals can get in trouble for it. China has the world's largest internet population, but it is also the most heavily watched one. About 25% of China's population uses the internet, and the Chinese have a number of different ways that they censor and control the internet. The Golden Shield Project, which is otherwise known as the Great Firewall, is the base of all of this censorship. US websites such as Google, Twitter, and Facebook are blocked in China, and this censorship has caused the culture in China to be significantly different from those we see in internet users around the world. With censorship comes the constraint of creativity and progression. China has begun to export its censorship model to other countries such as Tanzania, Vietnam, and Ethiopia. This is separating these countries more and more from Western societies.